Hello and welcome to another episode of Into the Deep. My name is Jade and it's a real honor to be your host today. We have a very special guest here all the way from Lebanon. A lot of you may have heard already or seen on social media, there's been a big buzz amongst particularly the Maronite Church at the moment, the various parishes and a few people involved within those churches that have been sharing information about something called Darb, which translated in English means St Charbel's Trail. Lebanon is going to be getting a trail that follows in the life and footsteps of our great saint, St Charbel. And here to talk to us more about that is the co-founder of the Darb Charbel Committee, and he's also the executive director of the Lebanon Mountain Trail Association. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome our guest here today, Omar Sakr.
Thank
Omar,
you, Jad.
welcome.
Thank you very much, Jad.
Thank you very much. I had the pleasure of meeting you formally last week.
Yeah.
We had a small fundraiser for this wonderful cause, and one of the things that I said or that I took away from it is how passionate you are about this particular project. I want to understand a little bit more, and maybe if you can explain more about your background and how you came across this particular project in Lebanon.
Yeah, in fact, I was a Boy Scout since early childhood. And since the age of 7, we hike in Lebanon. We hike in the mountains of Lebanon. We have beautiful mountains. You all know this. And it became a passion, and it became one of the sports that I practice almost every week. And with time, I joined the Lebanon Mountain Trail Association. I became an active member. It's the association which is managing the longest hiking distance trail in Lebanon. It's a 450-kilometer trail, starting in Andit on the borders with Syria, and then reaching Marjayoun on the borders with Israel. And it definitely goes through 80 villages in the highest mountains of Lebanon. It goes through Bayet, Andit, then you have Akkar al-Atiqa, then it goes through Doniye, Ehden, Bsharre with the Anubin, of course, Bsharre, Hadas al-Jibbe, Tanurin, Aoura, Faraya, Kfardebien, Baskinta, then Feluga, Erz al-Shuf, Aitanit in the Beka, then Rashaya, Marjayoun. So it's a beautiful trail for all Lebanese people. And while serving in this association, I had the chance to become the president, and now I'm the current executive director. And this is where the link was established with Darb Sama, the other association who had the idea of creating Darb Charbel. It happened that I'm a member of Darb Sama as well. So I told them, look, it's a big project. The Lebanon Mountain Trail Association is ready to put its experience at your service so that we co-partner and we help you in developing the physical part of the project, which is not easy to be done. And it's a project which is dear to my heart. St Charbel is a saint of Lebanon. So he is the beloved saint, not only of the Christians, but all other communities. If you go to Annaya, you always see non-Christians visiting Annaya. And this is a sign of hope to Lebanese, that we have really someone who is unifying Lebanese around the values that we all Lebanese share in one way or another.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, we had a mass last night when we were recording this, and Bishop Antoine Charbel Tarabé was officiating. You were at that mass as well. And during his homily, which was for the 22nd of the month, where we honor the miracle of Nuhad al-Shami, Allah yarhamah, where she received that healing miracle from St Charbel. And Bishop Tarabé was talking about that. He was talking about the importance of St Charbel's, not only amongst Christians, but amongst non-Christians and non-believers as well, who have been touched by his miracles. And so from your association with Darb Sama, this idea came about?
Yeah, because 5 members of Darb Sama, they went to Spain and they hiked on the trail of St. James, Camino de Santiago, the famous Camino de Santiago, which is more than 1,000 years old trail. It attracts millions of people every year. So 5 of my friends, they hiked 120 kilometers, and at the end of their week of pilgrimage, they asked themselves, why not having a similar trail in Lebanon? And the answer was super easy. Yes, we're gonna make it, and let's dedicate it to the beloved saint of Lebanon, St Charbel. This is how the idea started in 2018. But it took them 5 years to keep dreaming and dreaming until I was meeting them and I told them, look, guys, we should stop dreaming. It's time to work. If you want to make it, it's a big project. The Lebanon Mountain Trail Association is ready to help you. And they said, wow, this is what we need. So they are in charge now of the spiritual part. They took in charge the spiritual part, the cultural part, and the LMTA, the Lebanon Mountain Trail Association, is in charge of all the physical work, building bridges, clearing the path, building terraces whenever it's needed, and doing the difficult physical part on the 130 kilometers. So Darb Charbel is a 130 kilometer pilgrimage trail.
How long would that take, do you think, to walk it?
It's going to be divided into 10 sections, so 10 days. Each section of 12 to 15 kilometers. But the strong hikers, they can hike two sections per day. They can make it in 5 days if you want, depending on how fit you are. You decide how many days you want to do the whole hike. Yeah.
I just want to touch on something because you mentioned that you have the people they're looking after the spiritual and the cultural aspect. Can you describe both of those aspects and how they are entailed into the trail?
Yes. In fact, the way that the trail is designed, it was designed in a way to cross places which were visited by St Charbel, places where he lived, places where he studied, places where he did miracles. So places where the place where he was ordinated as a priest in Kirke. Few people know that St Charbel was ordinated in Kirke. So officially the starting point is from Kirke. But since Kirke, as a site is not a place where tourists can come, but people who insist to start from Kirke, then they can do it. And then the place where we'll normally start is from Harissa in Kisarwain. So Anneya is the center. People can come from the northern part, which is from the southern part, from Harissa towards Anneya. It's a 50 kilometer distance. Or they can come from Deir Mar Antonos Sahaya in Wadi Anubin to Anneya. So Anneya is 0 kilometer. If you come from Mar Antonos Sahaya, you are at 80 kilometers distance. Every kilometer you hike, there is something on the trail which indicates the remaining distance. So if let's say you are at 50 kilometers, you see 50. 1 kilometer after, it's 49, then 48, 47, until you reach the kilometer 0. Same way from Harissa. It was designed like Camino de Santiago in Spain. This is the same concept. We just copied this particular part, and we're implementing it now on the trail. So going back to the spiritual and cultural part, we're in the mountains where St Charbel was born. So this is the mountain which made Charbel a saint. The education, the whole ambiance in which he was raised by his family, by his parents. He was highly affected by his two uncles who were monks at Deir Mar Antonios Ishaya in Wadi Anubin. So he used to visit them often, and this is how he decided, following his various visits to Mar Antonios Ishaya, he said, well, my vocation is to become a monk. And this is where he decided to join the Lebanese Maronite order, and he became later on a monk and later a saint. So this pilgrimage will take the hiker, the pilgrims, on the footsteps of St Charbel. When you know that you are visiting St Antonios Ashaya, this great monastery, be it in its geographical location or in the spiritual ambiance in which you get into whenever you are there, with the history, okay, you feel something very strong, and this is where you start. And then you have the Qadisha Valley. In Qadisha Valley, if you do nothing while hiking, you're in presence of God. This nature, this beautiful valley, the terraces which were built by our ancestors to live and survive in this valley, will put you in a spiritual atmosphere that you can never feel it elsewhere. Because if you know the history of this valley and you just watch, you do nothing other than watching, by itself it is a spiritual experience. Whatever is your religion, you feel this presence of God in this valley. The beauty of this nature invites you to just be in a situation to praise God and to thank Him for the beauty of this nature. You know, just being in this position of thanking God is a spiritual experience. How if whatever is your religion and you want to pray, this is the extra thing that each one of the pilgrims will have, depending on the way he or she likes to pray. And then you go to Psharre, the native village of St Charbel's mother, and then from Psharre to Ba'kafra, where he was born. And this is where also you find the church and the house and the monastery of St Charbel. This is another spiritual experience. Then you go through the various villages: Bar Asha, Baz'oun, Hasroun, Dimain,
يعني قضاء بشر.
Briset, Hadas al-Jibbe. You have to mention each village, otherwise people from some village will say, Omar, why didn't you mention my village? Okay, so I'm trying to cover
We can't just say قضاء
most of
بشر. We've got to give
Qada Bshara.
everything.
Fine, okay, excellent. Okay.
No, it's good. Yeah, and you know, I think you look at St Charbel's life, and it was, you know, highlighted by simplicity. And I think walking that trail, you see a greatness in the simplicity. You know, like you said, that presence of, I think, the Holy Spirit there, the holiness, and the fact that you are walking. And I mean, if people are coming from around the world, for example, where if we came from Australia, which is, you know, where we are here, it's very busy. There isn't a huge amount of nature where we live. And that might explain why there is maybe a little bit of people that are a bit away from God, because they don't get to see or appreciate nature. They don't get to see that providence in nature. But I think going back to that trail, walking those steps of St Charbel's, I think will enlighten people of how greatness is in the simplicity, you know, from where he first lived. A very humble home, probably a very humble, faithful family, humble monastery, you know, humble parish where he served, a humble death. If we go to his where he's buried in Anea, is that correct? In Anea,
Yes.
You know, so it's just a life of simplicity. And then his greatness came many, many years after that. So I think that's going to touch a lot of people's lives.
Exactly. So people are going to discover this simplicity in the rural life of our mountains, which made St Charbel a saint. It will put the pilgrims in direct contact with the locals. They will discover beautiful souls in these mountains, generous people. When they will meet those people, they will understand more and more why this saint became a saint, why Charbel became a saint. Still, you can see this authentic, generous, pure soul of people in the high mountains in Lebanon. And the Lebanese people are very hospitable. You know already this from the community here in Australia. How if you are going to the homeland in the mountains, the land is generous. This is why people living from the land are generous. The land gives them a lot, and this is how they give in return to others. There is a direct link between the land and the way of living, the lifestyle of people. And also the land makes you a simple person, because you're living in a context where there is no complexity, neither in the social relationship nor in the geography in which you are living. It makes you more simple, more community oriented, because people are living from the land, living around the land, and they look like each other to a certain extent. I'm not trying to make this image as a utopian image, but
No,
I mean,
of course.
yeah, but
Of course.
people will feel it. And when guest houses will be open to pilgrims to come, they will be in touch more directly with the owners of those guest houses. They will eat the food of the village. the specific kibbeh in this village, which is different from the kibbeh of the next one. And then they will,
Ara in
Al-Ara,
Sharra is different to
everybody
the
will
Ara
tell
in the
you,
Karam.
our Ara is the best in Lebanon. You will hear this in every village. You will never get a better Ara than the one that we have here, you know? So this economic injection, this economic benefits that people will get will definitely improve the quality of life of these people and their dignity of not relying always on the support of relatives or friends outside Lebanon. If Camino de Santiago is attracting millions of people today, this will be the case for St Charbel
Oh, of
Trail.
course. Wow.
St Charbel is so active today, not only in Lebanon, everywhere. Go to the Vatican and ask about the number of ajaib, of
Miracles.
miracles he is doing. He's beating all records. So and everywhere, in Poland, in the Czech Republic, in Mexico, in Australia, in France, and a lot of non-Lebanese living outside Lebanon now are visiting Lebanon and visiting Anneya and Ba'kafra and hiking on the footsteps of St. Charbel, because he is now known everywhere. So this is what we see coming year after year. The more we get a progress in the development of the trail. For example, in July 2025, 3 sections out of the 10 sections will be ready for
3
hikers.
out of the 10.
3 out of 10.
How many
Anneya,
kilometers is that? Is that
50 kilometers.
50 kilometers. Okay.
50 out of the 130.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still substantial. Wow.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah.
And that's in July this year, 2025.
On July the 20th, we're celebrating the Feast of St. Charbel. We will announce the opening of 3 sections out of 10 sections from Darb Charbel.
Wow. That's phenomenal. And it's been great to see the support of both the Lebanese Maronite Order. We had the Superior General, Abu Hadi Mahfouz, who endorsed this, and Sayyidina al-Batrak Bshara Bitr Sarai, and of course in Australia, Sayyidina Bishop Antoine Charbel Tarabay. So it's been wonderful to see the support amongst the church leaders, which I know will kind of trickle over to the people in Lebanon and all around the world, Maronites and non-Maronites. When you were talking earlier, you said that this idea came in 2018. Lebanon was significantly different to what it is now, isn't it?
Yes, the context was totally different. And when we talk internally with the team, we believe that as if it was the right time that we started it in 2023. Things were being prepared, and we launched the project in November the 1st, 2023. This is when we announced the opening of the fundraising, etc. And on June 2024, the physical work started on the trail. And here we are on July 2025. We should be ready with the sections linking Anneya to Mayfou, and section 2 from Mayfou to Douma, and section 3 from Douma to Tannourine. And hopefully by July 2025, also we should be ready with the section in Wadi Annobin.
That's next to my village. I'm from Billah, so we'd be very close to it.
Very
actually.
close to your village, but more towards Maratonos Esхaya, the other side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I heard about this project, and then I went to and I emceed that function last week, the fundraiser, I think you remember I opened up saying that here in the monastery, I've become accustomed to hearing the monks particularly say, whenever we're going through a challenge, or, if we've got a function and we need support, or, I remember last year we had the big procession where we had the replica tomb of St Charbel's come to our parish, and there was forecast for heavy rain. And I remember just hearing that day, the monks are like, don't worry, St Charbel's will look after it. St Charbel's will find a way. And I kind of then said, we always rely on St Charbel's making a way, and this is our chance now to make a way for St Charbel's, literally a trail on the way of St Charbel, basically. And I think that's why I kind of asked you about how Lebanon has kind of changed a lot since 2018. And I think it's probably, I'm actually quite certain that it's probably in God's grace that He allowed it to be almost coming to fruition now, where there seems to be, maybe if we use the phrase, the golden age now of Lebanon, where, you know, we've seemed to have fixed up a lot of things politically. We have a new president, new prime minister. Lebanon seems to be headed in the right direction. And now this trail, you know, from the great saint from Lebanon is ready to go, you know. I just think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. And I think it's not, I don't believe in coincidences. I think that God, nothing is coincidence with God. And I think this is the perfect time almost to get Lebanon back on track,
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a
yeah.
track
Yeah.
of the saint of Lebanon.
Yeah. You know, hiking in Lebanon became the number one sport in the outdoor. And Lebanon is becoming a hiking destination for hikers coming from abroad, but hikers also in Lebanon. People living in cities in Lebanon cannot tolerate anymore the pollution, the noise, the air pollution, the noise pollution, the visual pollution. We have the mountains. This is where we have these escapes during the weekend. And Darb Charbel will definitely be a dual answer to pilgrims. Escaping to nature with this spiritual experience with St Charbel. This is the added value of Darb Charbel or St Charbel Trail, is this spiritual experience that people will have while hiking. The dynamic of hiking mixed with the spiritual experience will be unique. Will be unique. Imagine yourself hiking from one monastery to another, one place to another where St Charbel stayed, studied, prayed, and while reflecting and reading what St Charbel said, or a story about a miracle which took place in this place, etc. This will be a healing experience to so many people. But it will be also a personal experience because St Charbel speaks to each one of us differently from anyone else. It's not about remembering what he has done. It's about what he is doing with each one of us while hiking. So the dynamic is going to be really special. You see?
And I feel like it's an invitation for Lebanon to find God again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think this path, obviously there's such beautiful faith significance in many of the churches in Lebanon, but this particular trail and for this particular saint who dedicated his life to finding God in the silence and in the solitude and in turning his back on the world, I feel like this is an invitation for Lebanon again to say, find God again. That's what's going to be the healing remedy for Lebanon. Faithful people in Lebanon again who turn their back on the world and find God again.
I fully agree with you. We have high hopes that this trail will contribute in what you're just saying here. Nature by itself is a place which put people in a peaceful state of mind. So and tourism is a peace catalyzer. St. Charbel will be the added value on this trail to create this peaceful moments for people hiking on the trail. Whatever is their confession, whatever is their religion, whatever is their nationality. St. Charbel will play a role of unifying Lebanese people. When you hear Muslim people talking about St. Charbel, they speak with the same passion, with the same trust, with the same love to this saint. This is really amazing.
Yeah, that word unifying, isn't that? That's why I got goosebumps just thinking about it. That if you just look at this from the outside, you might not see the way that God has timed this so beautifully in this time of Lebanon's history, where it needed that unification and that voice of God to be heard again. It's remarkable. I've been moved extremely from what I've learned, and I know that a lot of people that have come to understand it more and more through a lot of the social media coverage, and we hope that this will kind of enlighten people a lot more about what is being planned and what's happening and how they might be able to support. But everyone that I've spoken to since there's been that social media coverage has and I've explained it a little bit more to them. They've also, you see their eyes light up, and they kind of talk about how, wow, like this makes so much sense, and almost like, I can't believe we didn't think of this before. So we've spoken, I think, quite in depth about the spiritual aspect of it, which I think is the most important. But there's also been phenomenal benefits for the locals in Lebanon, particularly around providing work and support for people creating the trail. Can you go into a little bit of detail to explain
Of course.
about the work that's gone into this? Who have you engaged to build this trail? I think that would be very interesting to know.
In fact, we are relying on locals. In every village we are working the trail, we hire people from the local village. So, and there is someone who is driving the truck, the bus, who brings all these people to the starting point, and then at the end of the day, he comes back to take them back home. And there are ladies who are cooking the manouche, the sandwiches, the preparing the vegetables, the dessert, the water, everything is being prepared by the ladies of the village. So we are trying to benefit the largest number of locals in the project. We have physically challenged people, we have mentally challenged people. We aim at really having everybody with us. The concept is inclusive. We don't want to disregard anyone. Women are giving enough space, so the more women with us, the happier we are, because they have great input in creating an ambiance at work, which is really,
Of course.
better, much better even. So locals are there, and definitely we're going to, once the trail is clean, when we remove all the bush, and we make it accessible, so there will be way marking on the trail. There will be directional signs indicating the distance of the next attraction, the duration of the next attraction, and then you have informative panel at the beginning of every section and the end of every section. This info panel will tell you a lot about so many details related to cultural attractions, geography, the services along the section, etc. So this is going to be like the Lebanon Mountain Trail Association. So it will be a world-class standard for international hikers and local hikers. People won't get lost, because if they monitor and they look at the way marking, the blazing, it's clear. They can do it alone. But if they want to have a local guide, we're going to train local guides from the villages, and local guides will be accompanying the hikers.
That's phenomenal.
And we are training guest house owners who are now being prepared on the housekeeping part, on the food and beverage service part, on how to communicate, how to do the reservation, how to market their guest house. All these things are part of the project.
Oh, that's phenomenal. It's like Airbnb almost. Like an Airbnb.
It's not
style.
an Airbnb. Definitely there will be Airbnb on
Not so much the Airbnb company, but it's similar to that concept of an Airbnb. Where
we'll aim for better service by having the owners inside their houses.
Oh, wow.
And in Airbnb, you get the key,
Yeah, you get the key.
you get
of course.
home, and then you leave.
So you almost become part of the family.
Yeah, voila. We need to put people in direct contact with the locals.
Wow.
Definitely, there will be houses which will operate under Airbnb. But what we are concerned with at this moment are the guest houses,
Oh, that's
are
beautiful.
the monasteries which exist on the trail. For example, the Lebanese Maronite order is highly interested in welcoming, in hosting pilgrims in their monasteries. And here, for example, we're working on developing the agro-tourism activities, which is the agricultural activity while they are hiking, which means they can work the land with the monks if there is agricultural activities around the monastery. And this will bring back people to the old way of working together.
To truly live like Omar Sakr, because he
Yes,
used to
yes,
work
yes,
so
yes,
hard
yes,
in the
yes.
fields.
This is the aim of Darb St Charbel, is to bring back people to their roots, not only to watch, but to have this experiential learning. When you experiment something, you will understand it more. So experiential learning will be an essential part of Darb St Charbel hiking experience.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I thought about too when I heard about the experiential part of it, and particularly the part where people were going to be living with families and, you know, stopping every certain amount of kilometers. I thought about the village people that own the Decans, for example, in maybe the villages where they're not as busy in winter, or where a lot of the people in the village have moved into the cities. Those people that have a small Decan, now they become, you know, they get to provide a bit more for their families. Their Decans become probably an important part, because the tourists and the pilgrims come, and maybe they need to buy supplies or goods and things like that. So it's definitely it's going to open up so many avenues, you know,
Definitely.
for Lebanon tourism, spiritually. It's such a wonderful and exciting project. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people from Australia that will go down, because, you know, Lebanon
Obviously.
is a beautiful destination in summer. Obviously, given what's happened over the last few years, that's been impacted. But like I said, I think there's a lot of green shoots coming up now in Lebanon. I think this is definitely going to lead the way. Have you had to create a lot of new roads, or has it been just cleaning up existing roads and trails and then putting markings on them?
Yeah, definitely. We're not opening new trails. We are just identifying our ancestors' trails, which have a public access, not into private. We're avoiding private lands to avoid problems later
Of
on.
course, yeah.
The Lebanese Maronite order owns a lot of the land that we are crossing. They gave us access
Amazing.
to Darb St
Thank
Charbel.
God, yeah.
But other than that, we're definitely always taking the old trails. We're identifying them. We are cleaning them. A lot of trails which were closed during the last 50 years because people are not using them anymore. Like before people used to move from one village to another through the trail. Do you know how the trail was developed 50, 100
No.
years? It's everyone has a donkey. So it's the donkey who was delineating the trail. So the way a donkey can hike means that this is the best way for them to develop the trail. What we are doing is going back to our ancestors' trails, cleaning them, and you cannot imagine how good is this experience when once we clean a trail, you discover that there was a terrace here near this trail. You see the presence, the remains, there is a word, the presence of our ancestors through the physical
Trying to think of what the word is.
yeah.
Through the artifacts.
Yes, if you want. No, there is another word. It will come anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So it's really like a proper walk of a proper historical walk of the life of St Charbel's. No new additions, just raw trails that existed when St Charbel, from the moment Omar Sakr was born to when he died.
Yes, and now I remembered a nice experience with one of the locals of Wadi Nubin. He was helping us to rediscover a trail which was closed by the bush 2 months ago. He kept on saying, Allah يرحم ضفيرك يا أمي. It was the first. It was.
Lord have mercy on your nails.
Yeah, because she was using her hand to work the land, you know. And the more we discover part of this trail that was hiked by his mother, moving up from Wadi Nubin to Hasroun every day, and then going down to Wadi Nubin every day, he kept on saying this. What we are doing is reopening those trails which used to be hiked by our parents, our Jiddo and Teta, our grandmothers and grandfathers. He kept on saying this every 5 minutes because he hasn't been on this trail since early childhood when he moved from Wadi Nubin to Hasroun. And he was back to the trail where he used to hike with his mother. This is what we're doing with most of the trails now on Darb and Charbel. You see?
I can imagine somebody like my father, who I always say about my dad, you can take the boy out of the village, but you can never take the village out of the boy.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that a lot of the Lebanese, a lot of our parents and grandparents who left Lebanon, I think that would be their dream come true, to be able to go back and walk that trail and go back to where their ancestors probably took them, where their grandparents and great-grandparents walked them. It's so special. Really, the more and more that you learn about it and the more that you've spoken about it. And I think you're a wonderful ambassador for it. I remember hearing you speak last week, and I just saw the amount of passion and not only knowledge. You know, it's one thing to have knowledge about it, but I feel like you've been moved by it. I feel like in your heart, something has been touched significantly from this. Is that correct?
100%. Jad, from our experience on the Lebanon Mountain Trail, we see the Lebanese expats who come and hike on the LMT. And once they hike on the LMT, and they come back next year, the next year, and the next year, and the next year, it will be the same with Darb and Charbel. It will be the same. People in Australia will go to hike Darb and Charbel. First, they should know it's not an easy trail. They should be ready. In terms of fitness, physical fitness, they need to be ready. They need to hike here in mountainous trails, not on flat trails. Mount Lebanon and North Lebanon is not a flat area. There are valleys and there are mountains, so they need to but the minute they start hiking, if they are fit, the energy will be there, and they will enjoy the difficulty they are encountering.
Well, the air quality is different. I know from being in Billa, whenever I've gone, the air is so much different. The air you breathe is so different in the mountains.
So clean, so fresh.
Yeah.
You feel the energy. How if you know that this is the villages of our ancestors. This is where St Charbel was. Our history is there. Our cultural heritage is there. When we say cultural heritage, it's the food, it's the dress, it's the handicrafts, it's the music, it's the dabke, it's the araq, it's the wine. It's a combination of all these things. It's the tratil, okay, the songs that people sing in the church, the ring bell, all these things mixed together on Darb and Charbel will have another taste, when you are there.
I don't think people are going to, look, I don't know what everyone's health situation is, but I can just imagine people will go and just get lost in that they won't even consider the amount of steps that they're taking. I think they'll be so captivated by the journey that they won't, 10 to 15 kilometers a day will probably feel like it's, that they've just been walking like maybe an hour or two, when maybe it's been all day that they've been walking. But I can just imagine the nostalgia and the emotion and the just everything that they see around them. I think they'll just get so captured by it that when you're doing something you love and the time just goes so quick. I can just imagine, like I just keep imagining my own father, for example, who loves going to the Sad when he's in Lebanon and going hiking and climbing. I can imagine my dad, for example, who's in his 70s. He would just love it, and I can just imagine everyone of his age, and then young people, and just anyone who has that love for Lebanon and the mountains and their faith. I can just imagine it being something that they don't even think about, and 10 days will just go like that. So yeah. How can we help, Ahmad? How can we help from here in Australia?
Okay, how can you help? At this moment, since we are in the development process, the trail is not done yet. First, keep on watching and following the progress, so that you keep also helping us in promoting the trail around you. I know that the large community here in Sydney comes from the area where St Charbel was born, and I know how attached they are to their land and to their villages. So one, keep spreading the word, so people, when they go to Lebanon, they know the trail exists and they hike on it. Because for us, the main objectives is, once the trail is open, people come and hike and experiment and spend money in the villages and discover whatever we mentioned before. But at this stage, you can support financially. Every meter costs $30 Australian. So
every meter
costs
Australian $30.
Exactly.
Wow.
So we have a GoFundMe account for Darb Charbel. You can go there and just transfer $30 for 1 meter, $60 for 2 meters, $90 for 3, as much as you want. And if you want to donate more, also we have an account at the Lebanese Maronite Order. It's a tax-deductible account. And here I want to thank the Lebanese Maronite Order, which opened an account for Darb Charbel, where companies, individuals can donate and benefit from the tax deduction facility that they can get from the Lebanese Maronite Order. Same as for GoFundMe. GoFundMe account is also tax deductible.
And I think just for those who are listening and watching, the best place to find that GoFundMe link, I know that a lot of the Maronite parishes are sharing information about this. I know it's been brought up in church announcements regularly, and there's also the Darb Charbel Instagram page, and also in Australia there's the St Charbel Trail AU Instagram page, which also has a link to the GoFundMe page, and also updated information regularly about the progress of the trail, and testimonials and more information that people might want to learn and understand more about this amazing project. And that also has the GoFundMe link as well. So I know that the Maronite parishes are very involved in promoting the trail, and also how our parishioners can get more involved. I think for anyone who is listening and watching who wants to donate funds through the account that the Lebanese Maronite Order have set up, if they want to get in contact with the order directly, and I'm sure that they'll be able to direct you on how you can do that. And as Omar mentioned, that is tax deductible as well for people who wish to do that as well. So how much overall has the project cost, or will it cost, and how much have you raised so far?
Okay, the total budget is $2,675,000 American.
Okay, so that's over 3 million Australian.
A little bit more.
A little bit more.
Yeah. Before we came here 2 weeks ago, we have already raised $1,200,000 American.
Okay.
So we had the fundraising dinner last week, and we received pledges worth around $270,000 American,
which is
$400,000 Australian dollars.
That's phenomenal.
And we're going to have another fundraising dinner this coming week, because many people were not able to come during the first one. They are coming the second one. Everybody wants to support. We feel this
Of course.
This support from everywhere. Everybody is really showing a high interest in the project. Yeah.
And what's that money going to, Omar?
Okay, so the money is going to be spent on the development work on ground, on paying the wages of people who are working every day, be it working the trail, be it the truck, transporting, being the food offered to the workers, be it the equipment which are purchased to do the work, be it the fees of the topographer who is needed in every village, who is coming to confirm that this is the trail that you need to take. And here we're facing a lot of problems in villages where the cadastral work is not yet developed by the government. So it's taking more time. We need the money to cover the fees of the research work on getting information to be written on the informative panel. We have the cost of fixing this pole every kilometer, the cost of producing the pole, the cost of transporting the pole, the cost of the directional signs, taking them on the donkey to fix them inside inside nature, the cost of the info panels that needs to be fixed, the info panel itself, the marketing fees, the fundraising fees. I came here with my colleague Raymond, so we paid from the donation in order to pay the ticket and to come here. So the management fees of the project, there are people who are recruiting staff, there are people who are working the social media, there are people working the accounting, we have the taxes that are being paid on the wages being paid to the staff. We have the video, for example, the video that we prepared in Lebanon before we came, it was prepared by professionals. So we have many videos to produce during this the coming 18 months, and that was the case during the previous year. So that was an idea about many of the accounts that we are managing right now.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I'm glad that you explained that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I think when it comes to donating money for things in Lebanon, people often want to know where their money is going, and they often ask for that kind of transparency. How are you going to manage that situation?
Okay, we're going to show on our website how the money is being spent.
Oh, great.
So people
Excellent.
who donated money, they will know that Darb St Charbel had this budget, and this is where they spend the money. We're trying to save as much as we can so that we leave enough for once the project is done to sustain the project at least in the first 1 or 2 years, because there will be running cost to maintain the trail, to keep it in good shape, to market the trail all the way, especially in the early phase of the launching of the project.
Do you have a rough estimation of once it's built and then it's in the maintenance phase? Have you estimated how much a year it will cost you?
Yeah.
Because I can just imagine people wanting to do almost like a nadr every year, or maybe it becomes like a contribution that they do every year as part of their charity giving. They give a bit of their money every year to sustain that trail.
Sure. The estimated figure is 500,000 Australian dollars to keep the trail in good shape in terms of maintenance, to manage the trail with a dedicated team that is not only here to maintain the trail, but also to promote the trail, to facilitate all these tours which will be organized on Darb St Charbel, in training, and keep on training the local community members on improving the services provided along the trail. So this is roughly the estimated figure on yearly basis.
Well, God willing, I'm sure He will provide, because in the words of the great Australian saint, whatever God blesses, or Saint Mary MacKillop, she always used to say, whatever God blesses will prosper. And It really feels as though God has blessed this project for Lebanon, and we pray through your work, through the donations, and through the intercession of prayer and prayers of our great saint, St Charbel, that this project will prosper and hopefully lead people closer to God, and God willing, more vocations come from it,
God willing.
and that Lebanon comes back, in the words of the amazing song Lebanon رح يرجع.
يتعمر.
What is it?
راجع يتعمر لبنان.
ايه وكمان لبنان رح يرجع والحق ما بيموت. Yeah. God bless you, Omar. You're an inspiration, and I think that God's given you and the committee a wonderful calling and many graces to be able to do this wonderful project. We will certainly keep you in our prayers, and we look forward to welcoming you here again in Australia in the near future. Hopefully next time when you come, it will be that the trail has been up and running, and you can give us an update of how many pilgrims have walked the trail, and how we can continue improving that trail, and God willing that Lebanon continues to experience a lot of graces and a lot of prosperity in the future. Thank you very much, Omar.
Thank you, Jad.
And thank you to everyone who has tuned in for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you like, follow, and subscribe on all of our social media platforms. And we look forward to welcoming you to our next episode very shortly. God bless you, and thank you very much.